everyone, and welcome to this episode of Neighbors Cooking. I am your chef and host, Mitch, the Recipe King. Today, we are doing an amazing, fabulous treat for your mouth that you are going to love. Usually, this type of restaurant recipe you'll only find in a nice restaurant. 4-star, 5-star, and you'll probably spend, $60 or more for a braised short rib. Now, I haven't made braised short ribs in a long time, and usually if you go into the grocery store, you'll see short ribs, but you see, literally they're short ribs. They're long, but they're really little tiny wastes a piece of meat. Like, I don't even know why they bother packaging it for $16 a pound. So I went to our local Mexican market here, which is Cardenas, and if you have a local Mexican market, you will always find great meat deals at your Mexican market. So at Bonds today, when I went for short ribs, they wanted $18 a pound for short ribs. And they were the little tiny ones, the ones that are a waste of meat. So I went over to Cardenas and they had beautiful, beautiful short ribs that they actually cut for me while I was waiting. So I said I wanted 2-inch short ribs. So the butcher brought out, a cow on a big thing, and here we go. Beautiful short ribs. So what I was saying is what you find in the grocery stores most often is the short rib isn't this thick, so in thickness here. Usually it's about half this size, and most of the good meat is gone, and all you have is these ribs with little tiny ringlets of meat around them. So I don't understand it. Don't buy it because they're overly expensive. If you want to buy short ribs, get them from a butcher and do them right. Now, one of the secrets to ribs, and I want everyone to understand this, ribs don't just fall off the bones naturally. You have to actually assist them a little bit to fall off the bones. So short ribs are from the cow, of course, and so there's the back ribs, which are your spare ribs usually, and your short ribs are the ribs that come across in the front or underneath in a cow, right? So all ribs have a translucent membrane that's over the back, over the ribs and over the meat. So to make sure that your ribs don't dry out when you're cooking, the first thing you want to do in prepping them is turn them over, and on each of the bones, take your knife, slide it under the bone, and that membrane will come right up off the bone. All right? And you're going to slice that. That allows for the meat to actually take in some of the moisture, and it stops it from clinging onto the bone and becoming tight and tighter and tighter. So as if you leave the membrane on, it's attached to the meat, and that meat continues to tighten on that bone, and it never gets any of the great juicing and tenderness that you want. It only takes a minute to do. If you don't want to do it, ask your butcher to do it, but you're just going to go right along the inside of the bone, cut that membrane, and you will always experience fall off the bone ribs no matter what kind of ribs you're making. And it only takes a second. All right? So we've got all those exposed. We're going to turn them over. My butcher did a great job of trimming these up, so we don't need to trim anything. We're going to salt and pepper them. Now, this is not a short recipe. This isn't something you do in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You can do this in the morning or in the evening before you leave to go to work or before you go to bed. And you can put it into a crock pot, an electric crock pot, but you need a bigger crock pot, not a small round one, but the oval-shaped one, so that you can actually get the bones down inside of them. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put them into a pan, and we're going to sear them up. But before we do that, as always, I have a friend or a local community partner that comes onto the show every week, and one of my best friends I figured would be perfect for short ribs because she's the shortest person I know. So I'm going to bring my friend Bunnie on.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, my dear.
Hello, my dear.
So Bunnie, you are the volunteer coordinator for Palm Springs Pride.
I am.
What does that mean? What do you do?
Oh my gosh. So my biggest responsibility as being a volunteer coordinator is to ensure that our volunteers get to eat.
There you go.
And by doing so, I find my way around the community and talk to all of our handy-dandy restaurateurs and see if they're willing, and most are without question, to feed a handful of volunteers on one of our 3 days.
Now it's a little more than a handful of volunteers.
It is a
How
little
many
bit
meals
more.
do we serve over the weekend?
We served over 900 meals this last year.
There you go. So 900 meals.
So that's not really a handful. That's like a bushel and a basket and a shopping cart full.
It is.
Really.
It is. So Bunnie came to join our team. I'm the director of Pride, volunteer for Pride, the Volunteers for Pride. And it was my first year as a director. And she saw me stressing out about everything that was going on. And it was too much. It was overwhelming. And she came to help out just for a couple hours on the first day, Friday. And I chained her to the desk and said, "You never get to leave." And she has been volunteering for Pride ever since.
And I never left.
And you never
I
left.
worked those entire 3 days, about 10 hours a day, and could not lift myself from the bed that next Monday.
Right. But you keep coming back.
I keep coming back. It's amazing. And I love what I do, and I love our community. They're good people. I can't help myself.
Yeah. No, it's a joy to do.
It really is.
And I'm glad that I get to share it with somebody that I cherish so much. And, you know, we initially came to meet each other because we had a mutual friend.
Yes.
And I thought I wanted to date, and then that didn't work out, and then he moved away, and now he's back. So that's an exciting thing also, to have Roberto back.
It is.
Yes, so we're going to do some short ribs today.
All right, I'm
for
ready.
my little short friend.
I am 5 feet tall.
She is,
0 inches, but I am 5 feet tall.
there you go. All right, and I thought 4'11", but you know.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
5 feet.
So you like short ribs, yes?
I enjoy short ribs.
How do you cook short ribs?
But what I will tell you is I just learned something today because I didn't know about the membrane. I didn't know that if you take that knife and slide it up under there, it keeps the meat from shrinking so much.
Well, yeah, they're not shrinking, but it stops the meat from being tight around the bone.
Tight,
yeah.
right.
So when you get ribs that are really not juicy, you can't, you're like, arr, arr, arr. It's because that membrane was left on, and it wrapped, so it goes around the entire stretch of the meat.
Yes.
So you can see a little bit of it on here. So, but by cutting it at the back of the meat, we release it so that the meat can actually come off of the bone as it gets more and more tender. So
well, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. I'm happy to have learned that.
So I'm going to have you come back here, and we're going to heat up this pan, and I'm going to have you cook or braise our short ribs. So by braising, I mean we're going to take about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I use a basil olive oil. You can use any kind you like. And we're going to get that nice and hot. Mitch, how do I know my olive oil is hot enough in the pan? Because it will glisten. You know, kind of like on a hot, sweaty day when you're glistening, because we don't sweat.
No, we don't sweat.
We don't sweat, we glisten. I learned that a long time ago from Bunnie. We don't sweat.
We don't sweat.
We glisten. So we're going to get that nice and hot. And I'm going to cut these ribs up into 4 different pieces. So each of these have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bones. So we'll just go right down the edge of a bone. So we've salted and peppered these, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a meat side down, and we're going to sear the bottom, and then we're going to flip it over and sear the back, all right? Okay. Real simple. This is a super simple recipe that you will be able to impress anybody with if you make it, because it seems like you put a lot of effort into it, when really once you've put it into your crock pot and you've let it sit for 5 or 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours, however long you let it set, it's just going to be the most delicious thing and the most decadent thing with virtually no bad stuff in it. So we're going to start off with our meat here. There's a spatula here for you to turn them over.
Tongs, perhaps?
Tongs, right there. Tongs, whatever. Never correct the chef. All right. And we're going to keep this extra piece. So Bunnie's gonna sear those on each side for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes so they get brown. And then turn them over, sear them a couple more minutes, and then I'm gonna have her just pull them out.
You can put that other one right here.
No, you don't want to overcrowd the pan.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Yeah. If you overcrowd the pan when you're trying to brown something, it won't brown because you don't. The heat distribution is spread out too much across the surface. So never overcrowd your pan if you're trying to brown something or saute it. Less is always better. I know it takes more time, or get out a second pan if that's what you need to do. But keep some space between the meat.
But that's good to know. I'm learning
So,
while
you
I'm
cook a lot?
cooking. I'm the laziest cook on the planet. So I really don't cook much anymore. I was married for 23 years, as you know, and I cooked every day. I worked every day and then came home and cooked. So I don't miss not cooking. I don't miss
Well, this is something that would be really simple. So we're going to braise these ribs, and then when we're done with that, we're going to just saute some onion and some garlic. We're going to mix it in with about a cup of soy sauce, a cup of brown beef broth, and a cup of red wine. And that is the basis for this entire menu. We'll have a little bit of basil and thyme that we'll put into it as it's cooking. And then you're just going to put it all into a crock pot and keep it on low and let it cook all day while you're out. No need to heat your kitchen up, and you're going to come home to the most delicious thing you have ever eaten. Now, to go along with these, we're going to make some leeks and some mashed potatoes. Now, I've already made the mashed potatoes because it takes a lot of time and a lot of noise to make mashed potatoes. So we've got those made, but we're going to add, not leeks, we're going to add bok choy. So if you're not familiar with what bok choy is, it's basically just Chinese cabbage. It cooks very quickly.
They say the wash pot never boils.
Yes.
In this case, a wash pan
never fries.
never fries. Because we're still in the first minute from when we started.
So with bok choy, we're going to use the entire thing, including the end greens here. And we're just going to chop it simply. Just like regular cabbage, bok choy is going to reduce down to virtually nothing. And we're going to do this as the last thing that we make. So we're going to keep using the same pan. In this case, if you're making this in advance, of course, you wouldn't be able to use the same pan. But we will in this case to get the flavors. How's that look on one side? So we're not trying to cook this meat all the way through. Turn it over. Pull those sleeves up, girl.
Okay, here we go. I got this.
There we go. See how beautiful that is.
Very pretty.
So let me show you guys what this looks like. So this is the sear that we're trying to get. You have that, Joe? And so you're getting this nice brown sear. We're going to do that on the other side.
I need that handle back over here.
Need what?
The handle back this way. Thank you.
There we go. So remember when you're cooking in the kitchen and you have young'uns or small ones in the kitchen, you want to make sure that the handles are never sticking out towards your kitchen, because young kids in the kitchen, they'll pull on it, they'll hit it. Next thing you know, you have an emergency room visit and you don't even get to enjoy what you're cooking. So let's go back over again what's in the sauce. In the sauce, we're going to have a cup of soy sauce, low sodium. And we're going to put about a cup of beef broth. So 2 cups. How we doing?
Yes. I'll flip them on
Yep, there you go, perfect. So we're not trying to cook the ribs all the way through in this process. What we're doing is just getting a nice braise on it so that we're locking in that flavor. When you're cooking in your pan, you're trying to get that brown going in your pan because that's where all the flavor is. When you've got crispy pieces and brown when you're doing red meat, that's where all your flavor will be, and we're going to deglaze the pan when we take these out and get all that extra flavor sopped up into the wine. You don't have to use red wine. You can use a Cabernet, a red wine, or you can completely take the wine out. But once you add it in to deglaze the pan, there's no longer any alcohol in it, so you're only getting the flavor of that Cabernet. Today we're using just an inexpensive red wine. Mine, the grape, it's a Sauvignon Blanc, I believe, is it? No, it's a red, it's Italian red. So, it doesn't have to be super expensive because you're cooking it down. So don't get all crazy with your red wine. How's that look?
I just put it on the torch.
So, I think we're okay there.
Okay.
So we're going to put these in here. Okay. And we have one more to cook. Remember when you're putting meat into a pan that's hot with oil, place things away from you. That way any sputter goes away from you. If you come in towards yourself, all of that fat and oil is spitting at you instead of spitting away from you. So make sure you do that properly. You'll never get burned. You'll never have an oil burn, I promise. When was the last time you cooked?
We'll get splattered.
You will. When was the last time you cooked a meal?
I don't know. Why would you even ask me that?
Well, because we're in a kitchen.
I literally do not know. The last time I cooked a meal was probably February.
What did you make?
I made a pasta salad.
What's your favorite thing to make?
My favorite thing to make would be salmon, mashed potatoes, and
So I'm not a big fish eater. I like shrimp and I like lobster and I like all the bottom feeders.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
So I have to drink some water just not to say something. But so I like all the crustaceans. And I'll eat white fish that's mild. But one year, when I lived in Texas, I was on a board to open up the first HIV hospice in Austin. And I was on the board with Governor Richard's daughter.
Okay.
And so when we had the grand opening, and she invited all of us, there's like 15 of us, to the mansion, to the governor's mansion for dinner. And it was really exciting. I mean, how often do you get to go to the governor's mansion, right? Especially with a big gray-haired old woman with big hair, and she was fabulous. She was the best governor ever. But got to the mansion, and we were having a fabulous time. We sat down, and the kitchen wait staff brought out the trays with little silver domes on everyone's, and they put it down, and everything got lifted up at the same time. Very impressive. And then I saw it was salmon. The one fish I can't stand. The one fish I don't want to eat, and I'm sitting next to the governor of Texas with salmon. So I just kind of picked at it on my plate to make it look like I was eating it, and she noticed, unfortunately. And she asked if I didn't like salmon. I said, no, ma'am, it's Texas. I mean, why would I have salmon in Texas? And she's like, you're right. Let's get him a steak. So they brought me out a steak.
Oh, I love
and I didn't have to eat the salmon. So
I just turned it on the last side.
all right, so go ahead and pull that out because we're going to end up putting it in a crock pot. We're just looking for a little bit of browning. Perfect. All right, so we're going to set these off to the side. All right, leave that there. We're going to deglaze this pan. So we're going to take red wine. And you should have a little, there we go. And you're just going to pour it in. Careful. Am I going to smoke along with her?
Think we're okay.
All right. So what this is creating, oops.
There it goes.
Sorry about that, folks. Not much I can do about it. Let's put that on pause for a minute. Yep. just hit out. Oh, never mind. We're going to keep going, folks, while this goes off.
Hang on.
That's all right. Bunnie is over waving at my thing, so we're just going to deal with it. So we've deglazed the pan. We should still be on. We've deglazed the pan.
Good.
There we go. Good job, Bunnie.
Thank you.
Whew. See, she's always a problem solver. So we've deglazed this pan and we've ended up with this beautiful red base. I'm going to take a little taste of. Okay, it's very good. It's gonna have a kind of vinegary taste to it because red wine then is vinegar. We're gonna add in the beef and soy sauce. We're also going to add in some garlic. So, Bunnie, you can add in garlic and onion. So I'm adding about 3 cloves of garlic that's crushed. And when I made my earlier version of this the other day, I remembered that there was something about the recipe I didn't like the last time I made it, and I realized it was the onion. So instead of doing 1 large diced onion, I didn't like the texture that left. So I went with just some minced onion. So you can buy it just like you can buy garlic already minced. You can buy onion already minced also. So I just bought some minced onion. We're going to add that in and melt it down. Look how pretty. All right.
And it smells good too.
And it smells good. Into that, we are going to add some thyme. And we're going to add all right. We're going to add some rosemary and thyme. Right into the sauce. Doesn't it? I love fresh rosemary. You know, even though this packaging, I mean, these are great ideas, the living herbs. But you end up just throwing it away. So unless you're going to plant it in your garden, it's just a cute packaging idea. All right. And into that, we are going to add our rosemary and thyme. It's quite a bit. It's probably... It's a palmful. It's probably a 1/4 cup of each. You're going to stir that in. So if I was using my crock pot, so I have a stovetop crock pot, which I'll pull out here in a minute for you to see. But you could put this into your regular crock pot. So we'll just assume this is a crock pot for now. And we're going to take our sauce that we've created and we're going to pour it over. I'm going to give that pan back to Bunnie. Put a little bit more olive oil in it. And we're going to do our bok choy.
All right.
Bring that light down a little. She's getting her cooking lesson today. So this would go into your crock pot and it would sit there for the day until you come home to that hungry family that you have. All right. Here it goes. And just toss it a little bit.
Same way I do my cabbage.
Same way you do your cabbage. So I already made some mashed potatoes. So you could serve this with riced cauliflower if you don't want to have the mashed potatoes. You could serve it with rice. You could serve it with quinoa. But really, if you were in a restaurant, you would get all of this with a nice amount of mashed potatoes and the great gravy that has been created. And then you're going to put some onions up on top of it. So you could do this meal for a family of 4 for under $20. You know, if you buy your meat correctly, that's going to be your most expensive part is the meat. If you buy it from your regular grocery store, first of all, you're not going to get short ribs as big if you go to the grocery store. So go to a butcher, go to your local Mexican market.
Well, they might be as good. They'll just cost you a lot more.
Well, it'll cost you a lot more, and it's not typical. So, like Vaughn's has butchers,
Right.
you know, but they're not really. They just do display case butchers. I think it all comes already pre-cut, and they just stick it into a case anymore.
Right.
So it's not really very, you know, butchery anymore. So in here, I have our crock pot, which has been cooking for about 4 hours at a 225 heat. Oh, look at those. Can you smell that, Joe? Mm-hmm. Smell good? Mm-hmm. So we have our short ribs here. How's the bok choy? Good. It looks good. And she's learned to move away and move around with me. All right. So we're going to take some of this bok choy, and you want some crispiness still. And create a bed for the short rib. There we go. The potatoes that we warmed up. Now I was going to be fancy earlier today, and I thought I'd get my piping thing out and do potatoes all. Too much work. So we're just going to put a little bit of potato on here.
But that's beautiful. You can't mess up mashed potato.
You cannot mess up. Now look, all of my bones are just coming right off of this rib, which is exactly what you want to have happen. Oh,
beautiful.
Falling apart, beautiful.
Beautiful.
You won't even need a knife for this.
I have those tongs, please.
You can have the tongs. I need my sesame seeds. Oops. A few sesame seeds on top. A few green onions. I always want to say bam, but it's inappropriate. But bam! So this is our short ribs, mashed potatoes, some bok choy for the bottom, and you have a delicious meal for under $5 a person. I hope that you'll give this a try. Keep checking back for new recipes with us. But this is a delicious meal. You could put steamed vegetables with it. You could put red cabbage. There's all kinds of stuff you could do. I actually thought about taking some red cabbage and slicing it and roasting the slices like a hamburger almost. Mm-hmm. You know, a whole slice full
Love
of
that
color.
idea.
So that's what we have. I am going to let Joe actually, you can put it on whichever camera you want, Joe. Which camera? This one? All right. And Joe, who never gets to come on and taste on camera, is going to come in here. Suck it in. The beef. He goes right just for the bok choy.
I like the meat. Ooh.
Hot.
Oh my gosh.
Good?
It's like melting in my mouth.
Nice.
There you go.
Oh,
all right,
it's
take your
delicious.
plate. Get back to the camera. Other side of the camera. All right, everybody. If you want to keep seeing more recipes, keep following us. Be sure to share our Neighbors Cooking with all of your friends and your family, the other people you love to cook with. And please do share this post. Don't forget to like and follow us. And we're going to keep cooking, so we'll see you next week in the kitchen. Thank you, Bunnie.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.